Welcome back to the deep dive. We pull the research, stack up the sources, and hand you the synthesized truth you need to navigate the world. Today, we are taking on a titan of financial anxiety. I mean, it's the crippling myth of the perfect credit score.
Yeah, and this is such an essential deep dive because this one fear, it's the fear that your financial past just disqualifies you. And it stops more people from taking action than almost any other barrier out there.
I believe it.
The source material we're looking at today is really targeted. It's clear-eyed analysis from real estate professionals, the ones guiding first-time buyers
Yeah.
through this whole process. It just attacks this perfection myth head on.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to distill this complex fear into, well, clear, actionable knowledge. We're going to unpack the hard truth about what lenders actually care about. And while the sources we're using have a specific focus, they're helping first-time buyers, particularly in places like the Oregon market. The core insights here are they're truly universal. So if you've ever hesitated because you thought your score wasn't high enough, this deep dive is for you. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the central lie, the one our sources flag as the number one self-inflicted wound. It's the belief that I can't buy a home because my credit isn't perfect. It's a self-imposed disqualifier.
It is. It's a phantom barrier. People spend months, sometimes years, just paralyzed by this idea. They think their score needs to be an 800,
Yeah.
or that one late payment they made back in 2018 means the door is just closed forever.
Right. So they disqualify themselves before anyone else even gets a chance to look.
Exactly, based on a number they might have seen once on a free app.
And the analysis makes a really powerful distinction here. So what exactly are lenders prioritizing if it isn't, perfection?
Right, and this is the fundamental truth. Lenders are not looking for financial perfection. They know it doesn't exist for like 99% of the population. They are looking for patterns.
Patterns. Okay.
That's the crucial conceptual shift. You move from being judged by a single static snapshot of a number to being judged by your sustained, observable financial behavior.
That makes so much sense from a risk perspective. I mean, a single high score is great, but a pattern of consistent behavior is way more predictive of your ability to pay a 30-year mortgage.
hmm
But hang on, if perfection isn't the goal, why do personal finance gurus and all those credit score websites constantly push the idea of getting an 800 score? Is that advice just wrong?
That's a brilliant question, and it really gets to the nuance here. An 800 score is definitely aspirational. It gets you the absolute lowest interest rates possible, no question. But for most lenders, especially the ones dealing with government-backed loans like FHA or even just standard conventional loans, they're looking for good enough patterns, not perfection.
The goal isn't to be a financial superstar.
No, the goal is just to be a reliable borrower.
So let's drill down into what those reliable patterns actually look like. The source highlights 3 specific behaviors that seem to matter the most.
Correct. When a lender assesses risk, they're really just measuring stability and predictability. So the first pattern is the most critical one. Are you paying your bills consistently?
Okay.
This just means showing you're on time across all your accounts, credit cards, car loans. It shows you're reliable.
Which is just common sense. If they're going to trust you with a huge sum of money, they want proof that you don't forget or habitually miss payments on smaller sums. Okay, what's the second key pattern?
The second is income stability. And this is vital for a lot of listeners who might be gig workers or self-employed. Stability doesn't mean you need a traditional W-2 paycheck that never changes.
That's important.
Yeah. It means having an income stream that's verifiable, that's reliable, and that has demonstrated consistency over, say, the last 18 to 24 months. They're just looking for proof that the money you say you make will continue to come in.
That's a huge relief for anyone who is self-employed and worried that their non-traditional income setup is going to disqualify them. It's a consistency of the stream, not the format of the payment.
Precisely. And the third pattern is your ability to manage current debt. This is measured primarily through your debt-to-income ratio, or DTI.
Right, DTI.
And it isn't just about the dollar amount of your debt. It's about the proportion of your monthly gross income that goes toward paying those existing debts.
Okay, let's clarify that for a second. So manageable current debt isn't just little debt. It's debt that fits comfortably under a specific threshold relative to your salary, right? What does the data suggest is a common threshold for manageable?
The general guidance we see, and this does vary by loan type, is that lenders prefer a total DTI ratio, including the new mortgage, to be under about 43%.
43%.
Yeah. So if you're already dedicating 45% of your income just to student loans, car payments, and credit cards, adding a mortgage on top of that signals a risky pattern. And that's regardless what your credit score number is. DTI is a huge piece of the pattern puzzle.
This moves us perfectly into our second section. If they're looking at recent DTI and payment consistency, what happens to that single embarrassing mistake I made years ago? Let's dive into what doesn't automatically disqualify you, according to this analysis.
The sources are very pragmatic here. They're really focused on just neutralizing that fear. The two biggest phantoms are that old, isolated late payment and having a credit score that isn't stellar. Let's talk scores first.
Okay.
You mentioned that mythological 800 score. In reality, for a conventional loan, a good enough score starts around 680. For an FHA loan, you can often qualify with a score as low as 620, sometimes even lower, depending on your down payment.
Wait, let me make sure I'm following this. Are we saying the weight of, say, a 3-year pattern or perfect payments completely outweighs the severity of a 5-year-old collection account?
Yes, absolutely. Because of how time and waiting works in risk modeling. If a mistake is isolated, if it's been paid off and several years have passed since it happened, the lender just views that information as less predictive of your current behavior.
So it's not as relevant anymore.
It's not. The source suggests that if you have 5 years of perfect payment history, since that medical bill from college dinged you, that single incident means very little today.
So that old issue is contextualized by your recent success. That makes perfect sense. It's like that job application analogy again. An employer cares far more about your consistent high-level performance over the last 3 years than they do about one disastrous project you bombed 5 years ago.
Exactly.
That old issue is now a footnote, not the headline. The credit check works the same way. It's a check for recent, reliable performance.
And what's fascinating here is how the lender uses those patterns to assess your present reality. The critical factor is where you stand now and whether there's a realistic path forward.
Right.
If you spent the last 3 years actively cleaning up your habits, you've paid down high-interest debt, you've stabilized your income, you have established a new pattern.
New, better pattern.
Right. And lenders care about that upward trajectory, not just the valley you were in years ago.
That insight really strips away the power of regret, doesn't it? It means your past mistakes don't have to define your future ability to hit these goals as long as you've established a current pattern of responsibility. Now, this leads us directly to the most actionable insight the source offers, and it's the part most people completely miss, which is crucial for you, the learner, who wants that rapid, clear knowledge. The guessing game is part of the anxiety. We spend months guessing and worrying.
It is the single biggest cause of paralysis in this process. People spend unnecessary time trying to achieve some impossible score, or they're paying down debt that isn't even the main barrier, all because they're self-diagnosing. The analyst's findings state it plainly. You do not have to guess where you stand.
So what's the immediate, simple solution to stopping the guessing? Because if it were that easy, you'd think everyone would do it.
It's a simple, non-committal conversation with a lending professional. That is it. And it's really crucial to understand the purpose of this first chat. It is not an application. It is not a sales pitch.
It's a diagnostic.
It's a personalized pattern assessment. They can pull your credit and assess your specific DTI and payment history in a matter of minutes.
But I think a lot of listeners fear that conversation is the first step toward a high-pressure sales tactic. What should this simple diagnostic conversation even sound like? If I'm a first-time buyer, what are the 2 or 3 most effective questions I should be asking?
That's a great point, and this is where clarity gives you immediate leverage. When you call, you should state very clearly, I'm planning to buy in the next 6 to 12 months, and I need a clear assessment of my lending eligibility, not a pre-approval.
Okay, that's a good script.
And then the key questions you should ask are, 1, based on my current profile, which specific recent items are affecting my DTI or my payment history the most? 2, if I were to apply today, what is the lowest acceptable interest rate I'd qualify for? And what specific action could I take to move into the next rate tier?
I like that. It's so specific.
And 3rd, are there any accounts that need to be completely paid off, or is just reducing the balance enough?
That just shifts the entire power dynamic. You're asking for data, not a directive. And the source makes it clear that this initial chat will provide 3 key pieces of information tailored specifically to your situation.
It's the ultimate roadmap. First, it tells you precisely what matters in your specific situation. Maybe they care a lot about a recent car payment you missed, but they completely dismiss that tiny old medical bill you've been obsessing over for years. Second, it tells you what doesn't matter. It crushes those personal credit myths you've built up in your head.
And the single most important piece of information you walk away with.
It tells you what your immediate targeted next step should be if you even need one. You might find out you're ready to go right now. Or you might find out you need, say, 6 months to save an extra 1% for a down payment, or to pay down one specific credit card balance by $1,000. That targeted action replaces that vague dread of, I need perfect credit, with a concrete checklist.
I really appreciate how direct and supportive the source material is here, emphasizing that no pressure, just answers approach. That's what first-time buyers who are overwhelmed really need. It aligns directly with our listeners' need for knowledge that's rapid, clear, and doesn't feel like they're being steered into something.
Exactly. You walk away with a personalized pattern assessment, not just a generic credit grade.
That knowledge is leverage.
It is. When you understand that lenders prioritize your current pattern of consistency, your stable income, and your manageable present reality over some idea of past perfection,
Yeah.
you start waiting and you start planning.
So what does this all mean? If the greatest barrier to achieving a major goal like homeownership is not a poor credit score itself, but rather the stubborn, widespread belief in the myth of the perfect credit score, then what other financial assumptions are stopping us from taking achievable steps toward our major goals? We have to constantly evaluate whether our fears are based on fact and current lending practices or on an outdated, overly idealized notion of perfection. Start challenging those assumptions, and you might find the path forward is much clearer and much closer than you ever imagined.